Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart. 8 fragrances that I will always have in my collection. Up until this year, I had never traded or sold a single fragrance that I had purchased, even ones I didn't really like, because I'm a bit of a pack rat when it comes to fragrances especially. However, in February this year, I decided, okay, got to move on, got to clear up some fragrances, get some new ones. And so far, I've traded or sold 20 different fragrances. Most of them I either didn't like or they were kind of average. But a couple of them were really good. A couple of them were discontinued, really high quality designer fragrances that were great. But they weren't irreplaceable. They were very good, but I got something better for them in return. These 8 fragrances today, I don't think I could do that. These are just irreplaceable. Fragrance number 1, this is L'Eau de Issey pour Homme Noir Ambre by Issey Miyake. And this is a fragrance that always sends shivers down my spine, which to me is priceless. This is a fragrance that has been discontinued. However, I got this 3.5–4 years ago and it was discontinued then. But it popped up at fragrancebuy.ca. So if you're in North America, it was available and it popped up again a year later. The first time was 24 hours. The second time was up for like 6 months. Don't be surprised if this one comes back because it's come back twice already. And it is fantastic. It is a dark leather fragrance with a lot of sweetness. So yeah, a lot of leather, but it's the blending in this one I really like. There's saffron, a ton of saffron with the leather. So there's a fresh quality to it. There's also a spicy quality. There's cinnamon and nutmeg as well. And then all kinds of sweetness. There's tonka, amber, and vanilla in the base of this. And so all that sweetness, though, it's not overwhelming because it's balanced by the leather, the saffron, and the spices. So it just smells really good. I mean, you're talking, 8 hours at least performance-wise with a lot of projection. It's an absolute classic. Fragrance number 2 is Encre Noire à l'extrême from Lalique, and this is a very inexpensive fragrance, and it might seem strange to be on this list, but it is my favorite version, in terms of scent anyway, of the use of vetiver. I have about 10 vetiver fragrances at the moment, and they can all be done, like vetiver heavy fragrances can all be done a little bit differently, and what I like about this one, it's got the vetiver, it's got the cypress as an aromatic quality, but it's got a beautiful combination of 2 different resins that come off very warm. One of them is benzoin, which is like a sweet resin. So it's a mildly sweet resin. It makes for a perfectly balanced fragrance with excellent performance. And yeah, I mean, why would I get rid of a fragrance that is the best of a specific note that's as popular as vetiver? Fragrance number 3, this is Ralph Lauren's Polo. This is from 1978, and this is a masterpiece that also sends shivers down my spine. The great thing about getting shivers down your spine is it's not like you want to like a fragrance because maybe you like the bottle or the house, and so you convince yourself that you really like it. You can't argue. When you smell something and it sends shivers down your spine, you can't argue with that part of yourself. That's not your brain trying to fool you. That is a true love for a fragrance. It is kind of an odd fragrance, though, because it's one of the few that I just can't explain. The pine I get, right? It's a lot of pine. It's a green quality. I don't normally like green fragrances, but I love this. But it also has like tobacco, leather, oak moss, and some other old notes. I have no idea how it goes together. There's so many notes in this one. I would say 99% of fragrances, I can break down why the fragrance smells the way it does. This one I can't. It's just magical. This has been watered down from the original, but in terms of getting that beautiful classic Polo scent, you can still get it smelling the atomizer. You can still get it in the open, maybe for 10 or 20 minutes. It has been watered down, so it's a thinner version, but you still get 6 hours. It is still definitely worth a purchase as far as I'm concerned, and I love it. If you enjoy watching this channel, you'd be amazed at how much it can help me if you just hit the like button. That would be great. Fragrance number 4, this is Prada Ambre pour Homme, and if you watch the channel regularly, you know that I absolutely adore this. I adore the House of Prada. This is, to me, the best professional smelling fragrance that's not woody that I've ever tried. Most professional fragrances, office fragrances, things like that, tend to have a lot of woods in them, very clean. This has none. This is mostly just like a soapy fragrance. And that's not an expression I normally like, but I think for this one, it really does fit. So there's a lot of saffron in this. Saffron's a very clean note. There's some neroli that goes with it. That's also citrusy kind of and clean. The saffron and neroli very clean. Then there is a resinous element to it. There is myrrh here as well with a little bit of vanilla. It makes a little bit of a sweet resinous feel. But really what you get most of all is the freshness of the saffron and the musk. There's a ton of musk. The beautiful thing about this fragrance, though, when it comes to being an office fragrance, is that I find office fragrances, they're either too strong and project an awful lot, or they don't project at all. What you really need is a fragrance that projects maybe, a foot or two and no further, and then is long lasting. That's exactly what this one does. It's about 2 feet of projection, so it's not going to, annoy everybody in the office. People closer to you, though, they will notice it. They will smell it, and it smells clean and professional. Awesome. My second favorite vetiver-heavy fragrance is Terre, and this is a fragrance that I hated for the first 2 years I had it. The only reason I kept it, I've had it for 4.5 years now, which is crazy. I only kept it because everyone said how good it was, and it did take me a while. Vetiver takes a while to get used to. So if you're a collector, let's say you've got 10 or 15 fragrances and you plan, on wearing fragrances regularly, and you happen to have this and not like it, never throw it out. This is not a fragrance anyone should, because it is a super high quality, beautiful vetiver fragrance. And vetiver is something that it takes time to get used to. And that happens to so many people, and it happened to me. Now, it's a very simple fragrance in many ways. It's just got orange and grapefruit off the top. You do get more orange. And then it has pelargonium, which is kind of like geranium, so fresh and green floral feel. It's also got a bit of black pepper. So that's 4 fresh notes: pelargonium, pepper, grapefruit, and orange, all very fresh, and then a lot of vetiver in the base. A little bit of cedar, but you really pick up the vetiver. And even though this is not my number 1 fragrance for vetiver in terms of scent, it's my number 2 overall because I really like the scent, plus the performance is just absolutely astounding from an eau de toilette. Top 5 eau de toilettes in my collection for performance. Next up is a weird one. This is Une Histoire d'Homme Irresistible from the house of Mauboussin. It's a very inexpensive fragrance, like $25, $30 range. It is a fragrance where you get it, you'll have to spray it a few times and let it sit for a couple of weeks in order for it to macerate. Not the kind of fragrance that you would expect on a list of, I'll never get rid of it fragrances. But the neat thing about this one is I don't think I've ever had a fragrance that is both sophisticated and seductive at the same time. And that's exactly what this does. You could wear this to meet, a prime minister or a president, and you could wear this and it'd be very seductive on a date. It's 2 simple notes really that do it for me. One of them is fig leaf. So you've got a little bit of green fruitiness, but just a hint of it, but very powdery, and then powdery sandalwood. So it's a woody green fragrance, very, very clean, very sophisticated, but it's so different and so fantastic. And after you let it macerate, it's going to give you 5 to 6 hours of longevity and very, very solid performance. Probably like one of the top 2 or 3 most underrated fragrances I've ever tried. Fragrance number 7, this is Frederic Malle's Musc Ravageur. And this won't be a surprise. This is a super expensive, high quality niche fragrance, but it has to be on this list because I'll never get rid of this. So most people tend to talk about other elements, but I'm going to go over the opening today because it is nice. The problem with the opening for this one is it only lasts about 5 minutes. I've only seen one channel ever talk about the opening, but it's really nice. It is tangerine and bergamot, lavender, and neroli. So very fresh, lasts about 5 minutes, and then the vanilla really starts to kick in. And then this turns into what I can only describe as a push-pull fragrance. And that's, a fundamental concept of dating. It's the push-pull, right? That's how we're attracted to one another. And this fragrance, it's a masterclass in that. Let's start with the push notes, the notes that push you away, that are not all that appealing, because this does mean pest musk, after all, if you do a direct translation. So like rat musk or beaver musk. So it's not meant to be a clean musk. But yeah, let's start with musk. Right? So you've got musk, and then you've got animalic notes. Lovely. Then you've got cloves, very pungent, very strong, very unappealing. And then you've got gaiac wood, which is like burning wood. So you've got 4 pungent notes, doing the push. And then the pull notes. And my God, the vanilla in this is spectacular. So you've got vanilla, amber, tonka, and cinnamon. I mean, it is so obvious what this fragrance is doing. It is, the dirty and the clean. It's a complete polarized fragrance, and it works. It works like a charm. 8 hours at least in terms of performance. Finally, I had to include this one. This is Jora Parfum. This is a masterpiece, probably my favorite fragrance of all time. It is mostly a leather fragrance. It's got a lot of iris, powdery iris. It's got some powdery sandalwood as well. So powdery and then leather. And then it's got ambrette, which is kind of creamy. A lot of ambrette, actually. So it's got the creamy ambrette, and then it's got oud and orange, which are also contrasting notes. You often pair together. And yeah, you're talking, I don't know, at least 12 hours performance, probably more for most people. You pick up different facets and different air quality and different temperatures. It's just a masterpiece and had to be on this. But yeah, I'm not gonna get rid of any of these. These are fantastic. Thanks for watching.